Welcome, Lumineers and fans of the happiest card game on earth. Yeah, I wasn't expecting to be doing this right now. I haven't even had my coffee. I'm going to sit and pour it while we chat. I was expecting the D23 cards to be revealed during D23. So I'm in work today, and my plan was to leave work a little early and get back and make this video. The cards actually got revealed sometime late last night. I'd gone to bed. I'm a bit of an early bird, to be honest. It's currently 6:30 a.m. here, and I go to bed pretty early, and I completely missed it last night. So I woke up to all of the Discords and the Reddits going crazy. I put my coffee down, and yeah. So cheers. Let's go on an adventure. Oh, that's good coffee. And let's dive in and take a look. So we have, as they said, we were going to see 7 cards, and they have shown all 7, but they've also shown this image of the 6. So here's how I think this is going to work. If you're at D23, you can buy a collector box of 6 cards. I'm going to guess it's these 6, and the 7th one that they showed isn't going to be available. And as you can probably guess, it's the big man himself, Mickey Mouse. But yeah, we're going to take a quick look at each of these now, and then over the next week, I'm going to be doing a deep dive into every single card and ripping them apart and using my knowledge of other trading cards games to try and explain what we're looking at here. But here they are. They look gorgeous. You've already seen the little trailer video there at the beginning of the video, which looks fantastic as well. We're going to go through these in no particular order. These are just the order I saved them. But first of all, we have Captain Hook, Forceful Duelist. Key things that we notice straight off the bat. Top left corner, there is a number, most likely going to be the cost to play the card. Where that cost is coming from is one thing that we haven't really been able to glean from these cards in sort of this little bubble right now, unfortunately. But I will speculate as to where it could come from in a moment. The other stuff that I think is pretty clear is the 1 and the 2 there in the middle. That definitely seems to be like an attack and a defense cost, although they haven't necessarily given us words for those. They might not use the word attack. We'll see as we go through these. They've tried to avoid very sort of confrontational words like we discussed in one of our previous videos. So instead of fight, we have challenge. Looks like instead of die, we have banished. So a lot less sort of violent wording being used in the cards here, which is completely to be expected with this being a Disney game. So this may well not be attack and defense. It may well be power and toughness or something like that, like they use in Magic. But still, looks like here we have a 1 aggressive and a 2 defensive, I don't know, whatever you want to call it. Underneath that, we have Dreamborn, Villain, Pirate, Captain. No idea what any of these are yet, other than, well, they're subclasses. They're basically how this card is made up. But how they play into the decks yet, we haven't really seen. What I imagine we'll see here is some tribal talk later on. What I mean by that is that some cards will benefit from other cards in the deck having similar subclasses there to them. You know, this creature gets +1 for every pirate that's on the board, that kind of thing. But I don't think any of these 6 cards necessarily reference that, but I definitely think that's probably what these are there in place for. As far as Dreamborn goes, I don't know. There's also Storyborn and something else later on that we'll see. Not too sure what they mean. On the left there, that suggests that this is this card's color or type, and there seems to be 6 of them, referencing the 6 circles, 6 lines in the Lorcana circle, but other than just breaking them into different colors, again, we don't necessarily know whether your deck building limitations are going to be based on certain colors, similar to how Commander works in Magic, but at the moment we just don't seem to know. It does seem to be that some of the colors do lean into certain types of gameplay, as you would expect from other games as well. The red cards, for instance, that we've seen very aggressive. Again, usually red cards in games like this are often very aggressive. So that kind of makes sense. And then we get into the meat of the card, what the card actually does. So here it has Challenger +2, which means when challenging, this creature gets +2 to its attack ability. So challenging seems to be fight, sort of when we move to the combat phase of the game, this creature then becomes a 3-2 as opposed to a 1-2. Or this villain, I feel weird calling Captain Hook a creature. This villain becomes a 3-2 as opposed to a 1-2, and therefore has 3 attack ability against any other cards' defense ability. Underneath that, we have some what we call flavor text usually. He loves to make light of a foe's predicament. Doesn't really mean anything. It's usually there just to fill the card up, but a lot of cards that have less abilities will usually have more flavor text just so that text box doesn't look empty. It's usually just there as a little bit of flavor. And then underneath that, we have lots of different bits of important information. The illustration is Marcel Berg. Beautiful illustration, by the way. All of these look stunning. I'm so happy with the illustrations on them. They're gorgeous. EN suggests it's English. Number 7 over P1 suggests this is 7 of the first promo set. These aren't in order, by the way. Sorry, I'm showing you off in a random order. 1 TFC. I can't make out what that means. They all say it, so I don't know. I don't know if this is rarity, maybe. That would be where I put rarity. But then for all of these to have the same rarity, I'm just not sure. We have Disney 23 Expo and First Edition. They are obviously just on these cards. Normally there it would just be the set, what the set is there, I think. And then obviously Disney Lorcana copyright stuff. On the right there, we have a single sort of pointed star that it comes from the Lorcana logo. In other cards, this number gets greater and smaller. A lot of people are suggesting that is the rarity. I feel like that's a hell of a lot of real estate on a card just for the rarity of it. I think more likely what this is the casting ability. So, for instance, some card games, use a resource such as mana or energy in Magic and Pokemon, and they are separate cards that are literally just played to give you a currency to play these cards. A lot of other games actually have the cards themselves be the currency, Flesh and Blood being one of the newer ones that does this. So you can play the card as either Captain Hook, who is a 1/2 creature pirate captain, or you can play it as one Lorcana star. And then you can use that one Lorcana star to pay the one up in the corner of a different card. That might sound complicated. That's how I think it's going to work. That's what I think that number is. But again, it's complete wild speculation up there. Anyway, let's take a look at the next one. Cruella de Vil. Cruella de Vil. If she doesn't scare you, no evil thing will. She is miserable as usual. She's a Storyborn villain. So there we go. So we've got our second one of those. We've gone from Dreamborn to Storyborn now. Could be I don't think that word lines up with the colours of them, because I'm pretty sure one of the red cards is Storyborn as well. So it's definitely a different categorization than the colour. This one here being green, I think. I'm very colourblind, so I apologise if I get these wrong. That's why they put a lovely little symbol in the corner there so I can learn the symbols. So she's a 2-cost 1/3 that has the ability You'll Be Sorry. When this character is challenged and banished, you can return chosen character to their player's hand. So this says to me that when another creature fights Cruella de Vil and Cruella de Vil is defeated, you can return a chosen creature to their player's hand. So this can be for an aggressive reason or for a more defensive reason. So if you've got a creature on your board that you think you know is going to die to something, you can use it to return it to your own hand and replay it at a later save to date. Or more likely what you're going to be doing is saying to the opponent, that huge thing there, off it goes, back to your hand. I don't want to deal with that right now. What this card tells me is that fighting necessarily or challenging necessarily isn't going to be the challenger deciding who they challenge, because if that was the case, I would just never challenge this card. It's only a 1 power. It's never going to really do that much on the board to me. I'm going to leave that because as soon as it is banished, you're going to use it to return something lovely that I've got out. So that suggests to me that the defensive player is going to be able to choose where the damage goes, as opposed to the attacking player saying, I use my card to damage X card that you have here. But again, pure wild speculation all the way through. When she stops by, misery is company. Fantastic. Great. Probably a lower power card, I feel, in this, but still being able to bounce something back on the lower power cards getting beaten. It's a good blocker. And then, it gets you extra bonuses when it's banished as well. So, yeah, solid card. I think, again, without seeing the bigger game, who knows? Could be the game of the year, could be the card of the year, could be the worst cards you never play it, who knows? Next up, we have the Queen herself, Elsa, Snow Queen. There was no way we weren't going to see an Elsa. Loads of people were predicting that we just saw Mickey, Goofy, Donald. I was like, no way. You're going to get maybe Mickey, but then you're just going to get different properties through the years, and there's no way there's going to be an Elsa. She's huge. For anyone under the age of 15, Elsa is probably more famous than Mickey Mouse. There was no way we weren't going to see her, and she looks incredible. Nicholas Cole has done a great job on the art. I think Nicholas Cole was the last one as well. Yeah, a good chunk of these are Nicholas Cole, which makes sense. They want all the cards to sort of have a different feel, a similar feel probably on the release. Makes total sense that they're all from the same artist. So she's a 3-costed 2/3 Dreamborn Hero Queen Sorcerer. All the keywords there. She's purple, which maybe is like ice You know, I don't know. Recreating Magical Link, Elsa found herself in an unfamiliar new world. Fortunately, ice works the same way everywhere. And she has the freeze ability, which has a little symbol of a card turning there, and exert chosen opposing character. So, exert to me seems to be Disney's Lorcana's word for tap or suspend, which basically means you turn the card physically 90 degrees on the board and it is unable to do some or all of its abilities whilst it's that way. Usually when creatures attack, that happens, so that attacking means you are unable to block with that creature on the opponent's turn, but also very strong abilities that you should only be allowed to do once per turn often have a card exert in that way. So I think that's exactly what we're seeing here. You can exert Elsa to exert something they control. So again, she's a 2-3, which seems pretty solid perhaps, but you can turn her to make their 9-10 turned as well, and I think that's probably what we're seeing here. Shut Elsa down for a turn to shut them down for a turn, and again they've kind of kept it really on point with the theming there, and that ability is called Freeze. Whether we'll see other cards have the Freeze ability or whether Freeze is just for his Elsa card, I'm going to suggest it's Freeze is just for the Elsa card, and this ability gets named something different for each card it's on, because we do have one later on that's very specific to the card. So yeah, Elsa looking great. Next up we have Elizabeth, classic baddie. This is the Angelina Jolie card in dragon form as well, which I think is fantastic. A 9-costed card, woof, but it's a 7/5. So if you're basing this just on the numbers we're seeing, these are big numbers, right? So again, we don't really know the mechanics of the game fully yet, but you know, these are just big numbers. This is one of those cards that if it came down on the digital version of the game, it would go as it came down. Not that there is a digital version of the game that's announced yet. Storyborn Villain Dragon, another red card. No, we haven't seen the other red card, but this is a red card, and this has the ability Dragon Fire, again suggesting that the abilities are named to the card. When you play this character, you may banish chosen opposing character. That's insane. When this comes down, something else dies. It's as simple as that. This is a very strong card, but obviously 9 costed is going to be very expensive to play from the looks of things. Luis Huerta has done incredible art on this. I'm pretty sure we showed off some of his stuff in my last video, the art speculation video. That's up in the corner if you want to check it out, although now we see these, a lot of that is now obviously dated content. Again, 5P1 English, 1 TFC. I'm going to go out, again, super wild speculation, I'm going to go out that is the rarity. We see different combos of words and numbers there. That's the rarity of the card. The star icons on the right are some sort of mechanic, casting ability most likely, but some sort of mechanic. And I think the rarity is that 1 TFC down the bottom. Would love to know if I'm wrong. Let me know in the comments if you've got a better suggestion as what that could be. Here he is. The big boy himself, looking amazing. Nicholas Cole doing a great job on this. Look at this. Mickey Mouse, brave little tailor. Suggests to me, and we get more suggestions later on as well, but suggests to me that we are going to have multiple cards of the same character. If you were just going to ever have one Mickey Mouse, or even one Mickey Mouse per set, he ain't going to be a little tailor dude, right? It's going to be Sorcerer's Apprentice, or even just sort of classic Mickey. So this suggests that we're going to see multiple Mickeys. 8 costed 5/5, which looking at the other cards seems a little overcosted, but it does have a really great keyword, evasive, which isn't in red. So that suggests that these are the keywords we'll see on multiple cards, which again we do later on. Only characters with evasive can challenge this character. So this is similar to perhaps flying in Magic, I suppose. So only flying creatures can block other creatures with flying, or there is another keyword called reach, which is a creature that doesn't have flying but can block as if it does have flying. I see evasive very much like that here. So this is an evasive creature, so it can only be hit by other evasive creatures. So that's pretty strong in its own way. It probably means that its damage is just going to get through to the opponent. I assume at some point we'll see that the opponents have a life total that we can damage as well to win the game, unless it is just a case of boarding them and just wiping their board is a win. But it suggests that we're going to have this, because let me put it this way: if this creature is evasive, and can only be challenged by other creatures with evasive, then where does its attack go if there are no other creatures with evasive? What is the benefit of being evasive? It is that other creatures can't block, and therefore the damage gets through to the Illumineer. That's how I read that anyway. Again, perhaps I'm putting too much of my Magic knowledge, Magic being my biggest card game. Maybe I'm putting a bit too much onto this, but again, that's how I see it. This is where I see people saying that rarity could be those things on the right, because this is 4, and obviously Mickey Mouse is probably going to be one of your chase cards, but I still think that all of these cards are going to have the same rarity because they're all from the same promo pack that you can't get. But then actually you don't get the Mickey Mouse one in the promo pack, so you would suggest that it would have a different number. I just don't know. I'd love to hear your thoughts on that one. It's the only thing that I'm really banging my head against after these. And again, I've only had a sip of coffee. I'm going to have another one. I've got it! No, I haven't. I need much more coffee for that. Normally I don't speak to people before coffee, so you guys should be honoured that I'm even making this video. Robin Hood, Unrivaled Archer, 6 costed 4/4. Loads of words on this one. Hell, this looks like a great card. This is a blue card, which it makes it look like the blue cards might be the sort of catch-up cards, the helping you out cards, not necessarily the strongest cards as far as attacking goes, although 4/4 seems pretty solid. But yeah, definitely seems that this one is the one that's going to help you move forward in the game. Feed the Poor. When you play this character, if an opponent has more cards in their hand than you, draw a card. Classic catch-up mechanic. You see a lot in Magic with white cards. They do this kind of thing. You get a bonus, but only if the other guys win it. Basically, that's what that's what those are. So that sounds great. Good shot. During your turn, this creature has evasive. They can challenge creatures with evasive. So on your turn, this gains the keyword evasive and can take on Mickey Mouse. But on their turn, Mickey Mouse will be able to go right over the top of this guy, and that's how I read this. So, what this card in correlation with Mickey Mouse tells me is that we're probably going to see some sort of pump spell. And by that I mean a card that doesn't necessarily have a character on it. It's going to be some sort of magic spell or sorcery spell or whatever you want to call it, that gives a creature character is the word they use. There we go. I'm going to start using character. It gives a character +2 or +3 to their attack for the remainder of the turn. Because here's the thing: you're good shot. You've got Robin Hood on your board, and you've now got evasive. You're a 4/4. Mickey Mouse kills you, right? So how do we make it so that we don't just have a board of all the biggest numbers on the board, right? How do we get past that? So we do have things like the Maleficent card that will just instantly remove one of them. We have things like the other card that says it bounces it back to the hand with Cruella de Vil. But still, there has to be these sort of combat-y tricks that makes you it sort of shows your weaker hand, but then boom, you've revealed my trap card, and there's a bonus there. So I think this suggests that we'll see something like that, where you can boost Robin Hood up a little bit, drop him some gold from King John's coffers, and he gets extra strong and kills Mickey Mouse. Who knows? But otherwise, yeah, great looking card, beautiful art again. John Lauren this time. Look at the tree. Oh, it's a gorgeous tree. I love it. We never rob. We just sort of borrow it a bit for those who can afford it. There you go. Again, 1 TFC still, 2 on the Lorcana symbols there. Can't wait to get proper terminology for all these rather than making stuff up. And then last one I think is Stitch that we've got to look at. This guy, look at this, just shows you that they're not completely tied down to the fantasy aesthetic of some of the older cards there. Stitch the Rockstar, a 6 costed 3/5 Floodborn hero alien. Can't wait to find out what these Borns mean. This is a yellow card. And it has Shift 4, so you may pay 4 star to play this on top of one of your Stitch characters. So that star could be a placeholder there. The asterisk there could be a placeholder. I'll be interested to see when we get photos of the actual cards from D23 later today as to whether or not that's been replaced by a symbol. But basically it means pay 4 of whatever the cost to play cards is, and instead of it coming down as its own character, it goes on top of a Stitch that is already down. So this is similar to the evolving mechanic from Pokemon. You start off with a Charmander, and then you could put a Charmeleon on top of it, put a Charizard on top of it, as the game suggests. So that seems to be what's going to happen here. We can power up creatures, so we may see sort of stronger versions of the base characters that can be shifted on top of these. So we got Elsa Snow Queen before. Later on we might get, Elsa Master of Ice Elements, whatever, and she's stronger and she goes on top and she levels up as she figures out her powers like she does in the movie. So that's very interesting. Adoring fans, whenever you play a character with cost 2 or less, you may exert it to draw a card. This, again, you can speculate into this as much as you like. A lot of card games have something that they call summoning sickness or play sickness, in that when the card meets the table, it can't do anything that turn, because otherwise you could just drop everything down and swing out and wipe people out in one go. There are cards in some games that sort of beat that mechanic, haste being the one in Magic. Haste basically means it doesn't do that. It can come out and swing straight away, but obviously not every card has it. This here suggests that cards in this game don't have any sort of summoning sickness. They can come down and then be part of combat straight away, because here what you're saying is basically take a card out of combat and instead draw a card. So it's a catch-up mechanic, basically. So whenever you play a character with cost 2 or left, you may exert it to draw a card. So instead of it doing its thing, instead of it being a 1/3 that can swing out this turn and attack, instead you are just bringing it down, tapping it down, drawing a card, and then next turn I assume you'll be able to unexert or refresh or whatever you want to call it, and then use it that way, but for the sake of taking a card that turn instead. Simangalisa Sibara, oh my word, look at this one. Simangalisu Sibaya. Again, I'm sorry for butchering that, but incredible artwork here. I love it. It's probably my favourite card, Stitch, actually. I'm not a massive Lilo and Stitch fan. It's fine. It's a Disney movie, so I kind of like it. But I'm not a lot of people... Stitch has got a bit of a weird little fandom, hasn't it? And I'm not part of that. But this is probably my favourite card of the set. I think it's great. It's got some great keywords on it. Great art. Just looks awesome. And I'm very excited to see more from it. So I think that's all of them. There we go. That's what we've got so far. Wow, what a wild ride, 20 minutes into the video. This is, like I say, just a short one to show them all off, just to let people see what we're looking at, give you some of my first impressions at least. I'm going to be taking a look at all of these over the next week or so. Other things we're going to see today, we'll hopefully get to see what the D23 collector boxes looks like. I'm not there, but people will be taking photos of them. I will just mention this. If anyone gets a spare one, or if anyone is looking to sell one, I am open to buying it. Please feel free to reach out to me on YouTube, or you can message me on Twitter. I'm at John T. Sparrow. I want one of these, so I'd rather somebody speak to me directly than me having to go to scalpers on eBay. But if that's the case, I'll do that as well. I'm kind of all in on this, so I kind of need it. But yeah, so we'll see what the box looks like. We'll also, which I've not heard anyone mention yet, we're going to see what the backs look like. And that's a big deal, what the backs of these cards look like, because the one thing they can't do is change them. All of the front here can be changed. A lot of the card games that have been going for a good few years have updated the fronts of their cards to a more modern style. I personally think the style is great here. I'd like to have seen maybe a little less black border, but I do think that probably some of the bonus treatments to the cards might see more of an extended art treatment. That's a common thing to do in card games, is that your basic one is a black border, but then you can get bonuses where the art spreads all the way across. So we could totally see that sort of thing happening. But overall, I love the style of it. It's beautiful, it's clean, it's modern, but it's still got that beautiful painterly style to it. I don't know whether it's even showing up on the screen here, but the actual black border, it's all little etched in. It's got it's not a straight line. It's all sort of painted in, and it's beautiful. But yeah, the backs are really important because you can't change the backs really. You're stuck with them. If you look at the Magic back, it's 30 years old now. It has Deckmaster written on it, which was some weird sort of subcategory they were going to do that never came of anything. So all of the cards still released now still say Deckmaster for no reason. So there's loads of things like that. You've got to really nail the back. It's got to be clean. It's got to be neat. And for my opinion, it has to be pretty plain. Very excited to see it. I love the look of these. They definitely have a board gamey feel to them, coming from Ravensburger, you can imagine. But I'll happily take that over the walls of text that a lot of the Bandai games have. I'm very happy with this, and I'm very excited to see more. Thank you so much for watching. If you have enjoyed it, make sure you subscribe, give us a like. It really does help out the channel, help new people finding us. Until next time, never look back, darling. It distracts from the now. My name is John T. Sparrow for the Illumineers. I'll see you in the next one.